Welcome, everybody, to this session on AI, digital, and value streams enable data-driven organizations. And with us today, there are two speakers for this session, Pavel Azaletskiy and also Jack Maher. And they have been working together for years to assist enterprises and organizations in delivering business value to clients as Global 500 technology consultants and business process advisors. So Jack is passionate about both value and values as business drivers, and Pavel leads his cutting-edge organization, VS Optima, providing digital twin capabilities that enable complex business process modeling and simulation. So with that, we welcome Pavel and Jack to the stage, and the stage is all yours.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you for joining us today. Pavel and I are delighted to be here with you and glad you decided to join us.
Yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity to present. Yeah, looking forward.
So Pavel and I are here to talk about a number of things. We start off with value streams. One of the things that Pavel and I found that we shared very early on when we started working together was that we were very focused on value. And while that is a very commonly used term today, sometimes we may lose track of what that is. I like to think of value streams as the basis, and value streams are a lot like budgets or goals. If they're not written down and you're not measuring your performance against them, they're not of very much use. And they're all about taking the resources that we have available to us from our organizations and taking that and making something more of it, of increasing the value of what we get by putting it together. Now, if we went home tonight, and many of us may have started to plant our gardens for the spring and summer, if you went home and turned on the hose to water your garden and money started to flow out of that garden hose, would you rush to the spigot and turn it off? Absolutely not, right? You'd be getting a bucket, hopefully a great big bucket. You would want to do everything that you could to make that money flow more smoothly, more quickly, and to get more of it as opposed to losing or wasting it. Would we want to increase that, all of that? Absolutely. Of course we would. So let's think about that, because that's exactly what's happening in our organizations. We are taking these resources and we create money with that. Now, we also create other kinds of value. And today's value stream maps look quite a bit different than the ones that you might have seen in the past. In particular, there are many tools that we can and should be using for value stream maps. In some cases, they may look and perhaps should look like the typical value stream maps that we've seen in the past that help us trace what activities are taking place in what areas, what kind of value is being created, what kind of information are we sharing with those folks that are involved in the process. Even more so, there are many specific tools today that are geared towards specific value streams or areas in which we have significant interest or investment. And these tools help us make sure that we're really doing the things that we want our organization to be doing, and we're reaching the goals and aspirations of our organization. Again, much like budgets and other things that we do to manage, control, or otherwise understand our activities and results, we need to use data, right? Very few people would argue today that there's no need to measure what we do, and there's no way to measure the things that we care about. Some things are just the same. When we think about things like the DORA measurements, those are obviously reflected in here and pretty simple to get in today's world. But there are many other things that are important to us, and we should think about them in different perspectives. So we typically talk a lot about our objectives and key results. And we also talk even more about our key performance indicators. Those are things that are typically pretty easy to count and don't have a lot of value in and of themselves, but either drive or represent other kinds of value. Now, as we mentioned, there are many different tools, and we should be looking at various tools to look at what can we learn from the marketplace? What do we see is actually happening in the way we engage our customers, our clients, and our constituents? How are we ensuring that what we believe is happening, what we want to happen, what we designed our systems to make happen, how do we know if it really is happening? And not just from our perspective, but more importantly, what does it look like from our constituencies' perspective, right? Are they happy? Do they have what they need to be successful? Are we putting them in the right place? And are we checking the right things to make sure that we're all accomplishing those things that our organizations need from us? Now, there's a lot of different ways to do value stream mapping. And if you search online, you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of ideas and approaches. One thing that many approaches today agree upon is that it takes some fairly significant work. Most folks believe it takes at least a couple of days to do a decent value stream map. I suggest that you use whatever resources you have available to you, including tools, but you should also consider other options and opportunities. And shameless plug, valuestreampro.com will have a lot of information and assistance available to you. The second part of this, bringing things a little bit more into what we might think of from a contemporary perspective, is the rise of artificial intelligence. Obviously, folks have been paying attention in this space, and you're probably one of them, have seen artificial intelligence coming for quite some time. And we already use it in many different ways. Machine learning is probably the most pervasive right now. It's been around forever. It really grew out of what we call big data, and it's pretty mature in its capabilities at this point. Generative AI is probably the newest and the thing that folks are talking about the most. There is significant opportunities for us to leverage both machine learning and generative AI in our domains. One that's specific to all of us is the operations of our organizations. Artificial intelligence for IT operations is probably among the most mature and the one that may be the most available to us, and something that we should really focus on. Now, again, when we think about and talk about AI, machine learning is the one that we see most commonly today, and generative AI is on its way. We're going to look at several different tools today that include both of these tools as part of their skill set, including tools like from VS Optima. What do we mean by that? Again, we start off with things that we already have, investments we've already made, tools, systems, and processes that we already have in place coming from the big data space. So we don't have to really worry too much about where we're going to find that or if we have the capabilities. Those are likely present to some degree in our organization already. The other thing that is super important for us, and something that has probably not, in my opinion, gotten enough attention yet, is how we can leverage our tools, data, and processes to reduce the relatively low value work that we frequently have people doing. Those things that we could automate and liberate those folks to doing higher value work, to increasing our capabilities as an organization without having to add more people because we're working smarter. Now, machine learning has been a big part of this, and it's increasingly being available to us through tools, especially in the DevOps space. The headway that we've made with building out software pipelines has really put us in a great position to manage this information and share it across our organizations. And as a result, we can actually move into actual value stream management now, not just looking, not just watching, not just counting, but actually being able to adjust and make changes that will improve our creation and delivery of value. And last but not least is the rise of resilience engineering, or maybe chaos engineering, as you've heard of it in the past. Things like the tools that come to us from the folks at Netflix in the Simian Army. That and that approach, as we design our processes, will enable us to better leverage the things that we already have in our move forward. Last but not least is getting to observability. We don't really have very many observability, not true observability solutions. So those of you that are in a vendor role, I would suggest that you put this on your list, because observability means I can see what I need to know without having to know that I need to know it, right? It needs to jump out at us. And we don't have that yet today, but we're getting there. Last but not least is digital twins, and I'm going to shut up for a moment and let Pavel take over from here.
Yeah, I believe this digital. Thank you, Jack, for the great overview. And digital twin, you can think of as a natural continuation of this journey of advanced in technology that helps us to really embrace efficiency. So, what digital twin is about? Digital twin is the digital representation of physical assets or processes or systems that comprise of assets and processes. Initially, it started back in, I don't know, 70s, if not 60s, when people started building like complicated systems like rockets, and they need to test them out before they make certain changes. So they start building certain models, mathematical models, how it works. Like first mission Apollo create like physical digital twin, if you will. Like there's a reference or data tracing from actual rocket all the way to the physical representation, and they can test what is happening. They can see what is happening with the rocket and can verify various hypotheses. Moving forward, starting from 2000s, people realized that they can leverage digital twin in civil settings. For instance, jet engines, like coffee machine, if you will. So when you have ability to see what is happening with the device based on the telemetry data, and you can predict what will happen in future given the huge amount of historical data, you can make better decisions. You can have a predictive maintenance. You can reduce the cost of serving. Like it's much more cheaper to fix before you break something than fix after you break. So preventing maintenance became a big use case for digital twin. And moving forward, we can think about digital twin of the processes, of the value streams, where they can bridge the gap between the just looking at the metrics or looking at snapshot of the what is happening of the value stream structure to what is actually causing the issues and efficiencies, or what do you have to change to make certain desired outcome. So in this case, you need to have a causality in your model. This is where digital twin can help. Just to give you an example, let's jump to the next slide. You might think like, oh, digital twin is something like we never seen before, but no, it exists. You can think about training for the pilots. You have a digital environment where you like really train the pilots like in different situations. It's much more cheaper than break the plane and injure the pilot. So it's a safe environment. You can do whatever risk decisions and verify the outcome. Like going back to Domino, I know it was introduced, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe like at the beginning of 2000s.
Right.
So you already can see, this is actually exact example of value stream. You place the order, you see what is happening, you understand when it will be delivered. It's like observability, not observability, it's transparency of what is happening with the order and predictability about what's going to be next. At the same time, at the back end, for the domino, this is very important. They can streamline the value stream. They can reduce the waste as much as they can and be efficient and dominant players in the market. Meta, go ahead and advance that to their real people. You can build Oculus for the game settings and for the enterprise settings. If you have a manufacturing or facility, or you can plug it in your Oculus and look what is happening. You can learn how to behave in the different situations. So it's already here. And I believe what we want to do is to embrace and start using it at other settings like DevOps settings. How we can make sure that we have productive engineering environment that helps us to deliver more value rather than fix bugs and infrastructure, where we need to allocate our efforts to streamline DevOps pipeline as a whole, not just local optimization. Doesn't move the needle of the system performance.
Pavel, it strikes me as well that this is a great example of a distinction between our processes and value streams, because our processes are usually from our own perspective, but each of these is from that user or consumer's perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is another very important thing that digital twin can help and advance the classical value stream mapping methodology, right? Because value stream mapping give you great opportunity to learn what is happening, and the whole team can gather together and understand, okay, this is our steps and how we produce the value. Those are kind of limitations or issues that we observe because of lead time, delays, waste, etc. So we can understand that. But this is a snapshot in the picture at the time. The next question is how it's going to behave in a different circumstance. What if we're going to make certain changes? How the dynamic will be updated? Or what if demand going to grow? What implications we will have to our value stream? For instance, if we need to deliver not, 10 features per release, but 20 features, what if we're gonna scale our engineering team? What would be the throughput? How many people and which role do we need to have? So this understanding is really important, and that can bring for value streams. From digital twin of value streams, when you run simulation and you can see the dynamic and you can understand, okay, those are decisions I need to make to handle this situation, this is environment, and this is a super powerful aspect of digital twin. So you can understand dynamic, you can understand variations of the, let's say, demand fluctuation, your performance of the team. You can look at how it entails on the overall productivity, overall throughput, and so on. You can look at the lead time structure and how it deviates from what you see at the moment and what you anticipated to actually what it's going to be in the after the change is implemented, that whatever change you want to improve implement to improve your value stream. You can look at the seasonality. Maybe it's not very relevant for the DevOps world. However, maybe if you work in retail, this might really affect you, because as far as I know, there is no releases whatsoever at the last quarter of the year, because the last quarter of the year retail really should work robustly and earn money and focus on no changes in production. There is a very high risk of outages that will affect the revenue. So there is seasonality in software in some industries as well. But how it affect the value stream? So you can, and how affect dynamic of the value stream? You can look at that through the digital twin settings.
Isn't that key? That there's so much dynamic activity today, as opposed to when we were able to do value stream maps with Post-it notes and PowerPoint, things were a bit more static, I think.
Yeah, the speed of change is growing for sure. Yeah. When to use digital twins. And I believe there are three main use cases, if you will. If you really need to understand the dynamic, or you want to improve the value stream and you want to understand what the implications would be. If you want to understand, okay, whether you allocate your efforts to the right reason or to the right issue to really make a system effective on the performance, right? Because it might be the case that you can implement, let's say trunk-based development, but it doesn't move the needle, right? Maybe what is really holding you behind is infrastructure because it's not reliable, or test automation. This is where you need to prioritize your efforts. So it helps you to make those decisions. Or you want to kind of calibrate or find optimal configuration of your value stream. Value stream consists of not just activities, but you also have a capacity in each step. People or systems performing the various kind of activities as a part of value stream, you need to balance them. If you have certain pressure and the demand on the value stream, you need to make sure that you don't have a bottlenecks on the capacity level. You might have a bottlenecks on the other layers in time or queues, but make sure that you have enough resources available to handle the demand that you planned or experience. This is where you can help. You can get helped with digital twin to find the optimal capacity model. At the moment, digital twin, you can build as an enterprise your own capability. There are certain platforms, but in general, I would love to show you a high-level architectural diagram. What is comprised of? The first part on the right side, you have a real world, and it's very complicated. But we need to get from the real world observation, building value stream map, looking at the data, leveraging AI, find the features that really important for the performance of the value streams. So we can elicit those features and start getting the data. So the next part is integration, of course. So we need to have either it's IoT if you're thinking about physical processes. In digital, I believe all we have is in Jira, GitHub, CI/CD tools, deployment tools, and so on. We have a reach of like a lot of data in software development world. So what we can do is really start working on how we can leverage this data to represent the not just metrics. I believe this is the first step. Start collecting metrics like DORA or OKRs, KPIs, what just Jack showed you, but start building those metrics as a part of the causal model. So those metrics are actually consequences or implications on the way how you structure your value streams, on the way what activities you put there, and the way what technology and how many people do you have. Those metrics will be an outcome. And this is where you need to have integration part, and you need to have on the application layer analytics and simulation to verify various scenarios of the changes of the structure of value stream and how it entails or effect on the KPIs and metrics of your company. As we're talking about process digital twin, it might be slightly easier. I just provide you overview of architecture that we follow. So we slice the architecture of the processes or value stream digital twins in 4 layers. Of course, you have the data sources. You have an integration layer where you need to, and you don't need to build this integration layer. There are plenty of solutions in cloud, in Azure, AWS, or whatever cloud provider use. But on the next layer, you need to have services, right? Simulation, as I mentioned, you need to have a causality in your value stream. You need to have a calibration engine to make sure that your simulation model is really reflect what is happening in reality, to make sure, okay, the scenarios that we experienced in the past is really what we can observe in simulation model. The simulation model can give you much more. It can answer not just what happened, but what could have happened and what implication it might entail. Optimization engine to optimize and find optimal configuration of the value streams. Analytics, of course, you can think about Tableau, Power BI, or whatever solution you like, even like Python notebook. Why not? You can get the data for the simulation model and start analyzing this. And the last but not least is modeling language. So how you represent the value streams. I would, you can think of multiple ways. Some companies like still use PPMN, which I believe it's more focus on the processes and very difficult to embrace high-level value stream. Or you can use like real value stream notation, which make things simpler and focus on the value and focus on the waste. You can like really nail down those two aspects. An application layer, this is what we have, like visualization of those kind of services. You can plug it in with our platform on API layer. You can leverage Gen AI or natural language interface through LLM that helps you to understand where the bottlenecks are. You can really have the model that you can speak to, asking, okay, given this structure, given this historical data, where my bottlenecks are? Why do I experience that? What options do I have to improve? So it really helps to drive the performance improvement and innovations in the value streams.
So we know that we have thrown a lot of information at you in the past 25 minutes, in which Pavel and I have invested many years to get to this point. So it seems quite easy and obvious to us, but in 25 minutes, it's probably not easy or obvious to you. We would invite you to leverage many different options available to you. First of all, you can come to vsoptima.com or valuestreampro.com to get more information about those things that we've talked about today, or assistance in doing those things. Some of the places that we think we probably have the greatest opportunity to grow is around AI ops, or artificial intelligence for IT operations, and leveraging digital twins as a better way of understanding our organization, our processes, our environment, and all of those things that we care about. All of which bring us to the concept of value stream management. 5 years ago, it wasn't even a category for Gartner. Now, it is something that most organizations have very high on their list of things to do. So we would very much recommend that you reach out to us and to others, and we would be delighted to help you on your journey. Please feel free to contact us and let us know how we can help you. Do you have any questions or anything that we can answer for you today?
That was thank you. Yeah, let me I'll also check just to see if there are folks asking questions. There are no questions in the Q&A. Neither are there any questions on the chat dialogue too. I can try to ask folks. Here's your chance. You still have some time, 17 minutes to ask all the questions you'd like to ask of Jack and Pavel. So yeah, feel free to do that. I mean, we'll give folks like a minute or so to ask questions. Any questions? No? Maybe also is the end of the day. Maybe folks are,
Maybe tired, or
Yeah,
maybe
tired.
we answered all of their questions in advance.
Yeah.
Or perhaps they're just waiting until they have more information to share with us when they reach out and ask us for help, because we want to help folks. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, feel free to reach out with us later. You have our emails. We'd be happy to have a conversation. And
We'd be happy to meet you on LinkedIn as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful. Yep. So
if there are no questions, I believe we can wrap up, and we appreciate this opportunity to present.
thank you. Yeah, thank you both, Pavel and Jack. And that's very interesting too to look into digital twin. And and I've heard of it, the term, but I just didn't know. But now I learned something, so that's cool.
That's actually very true for almost everyone we speak to. That they've heard of value stream maps and value streaming, but it's usually not very formalized. It's usually like we talk about with budgets and goals. A lot of times, if they're loose, they just don't happen. And the digital twins have been around for a very long time. They've been very mature in aerospace, in pharma, in petrochemicals, but in our front offices, not so much. And that's where we think that there's the biggest opportunity now.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, wonderful.
Great. Thank you very much for having us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, have a good day, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.